Revealed, after our incredible family reunion, my account was drained, uncovering a shocking truth. Emily stood in her childhood kitchen, the sweet aroma of baked goods swirling around her. The laughter of her grandparents echoed through the air, mingling with the animated chatter of cousins catching up after a long year apart. Memories enveloped her like a warm blanket as she flipped through photo albums, reliving countless summers spent in this quaint Ohio home. She had spent weeks preparing the vibrant decor, the carefully curated menu, the activities designed to keep her younger cousins entertained. This reunion embodied her family's love and resilience, and she was determined to keep that spirit alive. But just as buoyant spirits soared to heartwarming heights, a shadow crept into the corners of her mind. The moment she checked her bank account, her heart plummeted. The digits glaring at her were not just lower, they were practically non-existent. Panic surged through her as she clawed back memories of the day, dissecting moments of joy now laced with a sense of dread. Uncertainty gnawed at her stomach, twisting her gut like a vice. How could it be? Had Derek, her estranged cousin just returned from military service, had any role in this? While the reunion buzzed with hugs and stories, Emily couldn't shake the memory of Derek's odd behavior. He had kept borrowing small amounts of money throughout the day, his eyes distant, shrouded in an unsettling haze. The whispers began, how could they not? People were torn, feeling the tension creep into the atmosphere, the glares exchanged like daggers. She was stuck, gazing down the slippery slope of betrayal, not quite knowing how to pull herself back up. Emily took a deep breath, bracing herself against the storm brewing around her. Voices began rising, accusations fluttered about like unwelcome guests, hanging heavy in the air. What's wrong with him? They wondered. How could someone she once played tag with in the backyard now bring this weight upon her shoulders? She was losing not just the spirit of the day, but the bond she held dear. Just when hope felt lost, a cousin stepped forth, sharing the reality of Derek's struggles with PTSD, his visible wounds hidden beneath the surface. Emily's heart broke further, she understood his pain. That truth hit her like a tidal wave, crashing against the fragile remnants of her expectations. Should she seek justice for her drained account, or should she hold space for a cousin in need? The family's laughter faded into a profound silence, heavy with the weight of understanding. She felt it, the flicker of compassion igniting within her kin. Unable to hold back, she stood tall, rallying the family around Derek with a fierce tenderness. "We are the only ones he has," she said, her voice trembling yet strong. "We need to support him. Isn't that what family means?" The reunion morphed into something deeper, into conversations wrought with vulnerability, stitches placed over fractures that had run for too long. While grappling with their fears, Emily saw the bonds slowly heal. Hope kindled a light within them, igniting a collective understanding that this battle would not be faced alone. But just as solace began to spread, the chilling undercurrent resurfaced. What if the truth behind her drained account ran even deeper? An invisible foe, lurking just beneath the surface. As she gathered her family for one final discussion, Emily's heart raced, because the journey to reclaim not just her finances but her family's unity had only just begun. With her heart pounding in her chest, Emily gathered her family in the living room. The air, once filled with joy and laughter, now hung heavy with uncertainty. Cousins hugged their children tightly, eyes darting to one another, trying to gauge the atmosphere. Derek stood slightly apart, an island in this ocean of familial concern. She noticed how everyone instinctively angled away from him, like he was carrying a storm that could break at any moment. Taking a deep breath, Emily faced the family. "Before we address what's happened, we need to really see Derek," she began, her voice firm despite shaking hands. "He served our country, and he's fighting battles we may never fully understand." The room grew silent. Faces softened as they glanced at Derek's distant expression. Emily saw her grandmother's weathered hands clasped together, tracing the lingering threads of family connection. "How can we help?" she asked after a pause, her own voice shaking with emotion. With hesitant steps, Derek moved closer. I never meant for it to come to this," he said slowly, the weight of his remorse dripping from each word. "I thought I could manage it." A wave of sympathy washed over the room, but the reality of the financial betrayal simmered beneath the surface. Emily pressed on, "But we have a bigger issue right now. My account." Emily, I'm so sorry I borrowed money, Derek interrupted, his face flushed. I didn't want to look desperate. I was trying to sort out my life. And I don't even know where it all went. Gasps rippled through the room at his admission. Emily felt a mix of anger and compassion swirl within her. Then if not you, then who? If you didn't take it, there must have been someone, but what if it really was just me? Derek interjected, his voice a mix of sadness and frustration. I've been feeling so lost. Maybe I spent beyond my limits, maybe I didn't handle everything as I should have. The family was tense, wrestling with their feelings. Emily could feel her heartache transform into something unexpected. This wasn't simply about her. It was about their family unraveling at the seams. Look, she said, feeling the need to anchor everyone back to the moment. We can't allow this to divide us. Whether it was him or not, we still have Derek here. That's what matters the most. Some murmurs of agreement echoed back. Derek looked overwhelmed, a mixture of shame and gratitude washing over his features. You guys deserve better than this, he said quietly. Then let us make it better, a different cousin chimed in with a newfound zest. Let us brainstorm how to help Derek and ourselves. This doesn't have to end in betrayal. We're family, we stand together. As ideas began to flow, Emily's spirits lifted. They could tackle financial problems, but first, it had to start with caring for one another. However, just as families began to share solutions, a sudden thought pierced the murky waters of doubt. Emily glanced at Derek with a furrowed brow. What if there's someone else? Someone beyond you? The room froze again as her words hung in the air, the possibility stretching like a rubber band ready to snap. The truth behind her account could still be lurking in the shadows. With a heavy heart, she wondered who could be the hidden assailant in this family drama, poised to strike when their backs were turned. It was a question that would need an answer soon. Because the more she learned about the shadowy depths of this situation, the more she felt the ground beneath her foundation tremble with uncertainty. What else would she uncover in her quest to safeguard her family? Emily's gaze swept across the room, taking in the faces of her family. The tension hung thick like fog, refusing to lift. She felt their eyes on her, waiting for direction, but doubt gnawed at her insides. We need to dig deeper, she murmured, barely audible over the hushed whispers. Derek shifted uncomfortably, clearly feeling the weight of his family's expectations. I wish I knew more, he admitted, his voice barely a whisper. I've tried tracking my expenses, but everything's a blur like walking through a fog. Emily moved closer to him, wanting to bridge the chasm that seemed to have formed. Derek, have you spoken to anyone outside our family? Friends? Anyone who might know what you've been going through? He shook his head, frustration building. I didn't want to burden anyone. I thought I could pull myself out of it. But now it's just a mess. Behind him, their grandmother looked lost in thought. Sometimes, it's hard to see a light when everything feels dark, she said, her voice quivering. Derek, it's okay to ask for help. We're all here for you. Encouraged by her words, Emily took a moment to collect her thoughts. So, let us take a step back. If this isn't something Derek did alone, we have to think about who might have access to your information. Is there anyone suspicious? The room murmured with concern, and then someone, Derek's cousin Jason, piped up. What about your ex-girlfriend, Rebecca? I remember you said she was good with technology. Derek stiffened, the mention of Rebecca causing shadows to cross his face. I haven't spoken to her in years, he said, anger rising in his chest. But a hint of uncertainty lingered in his tone. Emily has a point, Jason urged. If someone was looking for a way to exploit you, she might be worth checking on. Wait, Emily interjected, raising her hand for calm. Let us not jump to conclusions. Just because she had some skills doesn't make her guilty. But we can't ignore any leads. The family sat in silence, fear dancing in their expressions. Everyone was aware of the stakes. This wasn't just about a bank account, it was about trust, betrayal, and the fragile threads that held them together. As ideas continued to swirl, Emily felt her heartbeat quicken. Time seemed to creep, every second felt like a lifetime. "We need a plan," she said, looking around at her family. "No more secrets. We need to be honest and open about everything." Derek's eyes locked onto hers, grateful yet terrified. What if it's someone we never expected? Or worse, what if I find out it was me all along? "That's not the question we should be asking right now," Emily replied, her voice steady. "It's not about blame, it's about finding the truth. We will figure this out. Together." Just as a sense of resolve settled over them, Emily's phone buzzed on the table. She grabbed it, eyes wide as she read the message. Her heart sank, a chilling clarity grew in her mind. It was a bank alert with a new transaction she hadn't authorized. "Guys, we need to move fast," she called out, every pulse in her body urging action. "They just drained more from my account." Gasps echoed around the room, and just like that, the foundation they'd begun to build trembled again. Emily could feel fear tightening around her heart, and beneath the surface of her worry, anger stirred as her blood ran cold. Whoever is behind this, they're not done. As the weight of that realization sank in, the group collectively exhaled, understanding that this was only the beginning. Now their resolve had to harden into a plan. They had to uncover the truth before it was too late. What corner would they turn next in this tangled web of deception? Would the answers bring them closer or unravel everything they were trying to hold on to? Emily's fingers trembled as she set her phone down. The message felt like a ticking bomb, ready to explode. Around her, the air was thick with panic, each person processing the gravity of the situation in their own way. A family that had come together to support one member now found themselves embroiled in a crisis. "We need to act now," Emily said, urgency replacing her earlier hesitation. "We can't just sit here." "Derek, do you have any active accounts or cards that show exactly how much they've taken?" Derek's face went pale. "Yeah, I can check. I have some apps on my phone." He fumbled with his device, his fingers shaking. The rest of the family leaned in, their eyes darting between him and Emily. "Take a deep breath, Derek. Focus," Emily encouraged, planting herself beside him. "We have to figure this out before it spirals any further." While Derek scanned his accounts, she turned to Jason. "Can you think of anyone who might have helped Rebecca get her hands on this information? Anyone that you think she'd trust?" He frowned, trying to piece it together. "There's a guy named Neil. He's into hacking and had a thing for Rebecca a while back. But he's not really in the picture anymore." The room grew heavy with silence again, this time punctuated by Derek's gasp. "Oh God, it's worse than I thought." "What do you mean?" Emily's heart raced at the apprehension in his voice. $100 was taken out yesterday, and then another $300 today, but that's not all. I also see some charges in places I never went to last week." Derek's voice cracked as despair crept in. Okay. Stay with me. What were the locations? Is there an option to dispute these?" Emily asked, her mind racing faster than her heart could process. "Yeah, there are payments to that new cafe downtown and a gas station near the old park." Derek's voice trailed off as realization dawned on him. "But I haven't been there." Jason's eyes widened. "Wait, are you saying someone has your card information and is using it right now? Could they be using my phone? I mean, if they hacked into my online account." Derek's voice dropped off into anxious silence. "Let's check your security settings," Emily suggested, her instincts kicking in. "Do you even have two-factor authentication set up?" "I don't know," Derek stammered, panic evident in his expression. "I thought I did." Emily inhaled sharply, trying to remain calm. She turned to the others. "We need to gather every piece of information we can right now. No stone left unturned. Does anyone have any ideas about how we can track where the money went or figure out what is happening?" Their grandmother rose slowly, wisdom etched into her features. "Sometimes, starting small is the best way. What if we just retrace Derek's steps? Talk to people he's interacted with? Maybe someone has seen something that can help." "That's not a bad idea," Jason agreed, nodding. It'd also keep the pressure off him a bit. We can cover more ground if we spread out. Just as hope began to light up the moment, another chilling buzz came from Emily's phone. Reluctantly, she picked it up again, her pulse quickening as she read the notification. It was yet another bank alert, but this one was different. It was a notification warning her that her account had been flagged for suspicious activity. Guys, I think I'm next. The gravity of the situation crashed over them, silence wrapping around their small group like a heavy fog. They were up against something bigger than they had imagined, and the stakes had never been this high. In that moment, Emily felt the weight of her family's trust on her shoulders and the flicker of resolve reignite within her. There had to be a way out of this. But who could they turn to when they were already standing in the dark? As uncertainty loomed, Emily looked around the room. What's our next move? We need a plan, and fast, before they take everything from us. The tension crackled in the air as each of them contemplated the danger ahead. They were plotting their escape from shadows closing in, but the lurking question remained: who would emerge from this chaos unscathed? The room was filled with a kind of stillness that felt suffocating. Emily's mind whirled, every thought colliding in a chaotic rush. They were in this mess together, but how deep did the rabbit hole go? We need to stay connected, she said, shaking her head, trying to banish the drifting panic. Derek, call your bank and freeze your accounts. And I'll call mine. Derek's fingers hovered over his phone like he was afraid it might explode. What if they drain more? What if Derek? Emily interrupted, her voice firm yet calm. You have to do this. We're running out of time. As he scrambled to make the call, Emily turned her gaze to Jason. We need to figure out where Rebecca is. If Neil is involved, he might know how this all went down. Yeah, Jason replied, his gaze narrowed in determination. But she hasn't been answering her phone. I don't even know where she could be. Emily clenched her fists, searching her own memory for any leads. She mentioned going to a party last weekend, right? Maybe we can find out who she was with. Should we head to that party location? Derek shouted into the phone, urgency woven into his voice as he listened to the customer service representative on the line. Let me check something, Jason said as he tapped on his phone, pulling up social media. People often tag their friends at parties. Maybe we can find a location through those posts. Great thinking. Emily exclaimed. Let us drag this into the light, expose whatever is really happening here. As Jason began to scroll through the posts, Emily's attention was drawn back to Derek. He was talking animatedly to the bank representative, his face a mask of worry. Turning back to Jason, she could see images of smiling faces pop up on the screen, filtered snapshots of lives untouched by shadows. There. Jason pointed, excitement flooding his voice. There's a picture of Rebecca. She's with Neil. They look like they're having a good time at that cafe right before the charges started popping up. The realization made Emily's stomach drop. So, this cafe is where it all started? I think we should go there. Next, we can ask around and see if anyone remembers them. Before they could formulate a plan, Emily's phone buzzed violently again. This time, the notification sent a shockwave through her. It was a message from an unknown number. I'll take this, she whispered, stepping aside. The adrenaline coursed through her as she read the text. Stop digging, or you'll regret it. I know everything. Her breath hitched. Fear clawed at her chest, but she fought it down. Guys! She called out, her heart pounding as she turned back to Derek and Jason. We just got a message. They know we're on to them. If we're going to figure this out, we have to be smart, safe. Derek ran a hand through his hair, clearly shaken. What do we do about Rebecca? If she's mixed up in this, we can't just leave her. We find her, Emily said resolutely, feeling the weight of the decision settle over her. But we need to be strategic. We can't run in blind. We need proof first. Something concrete that connects everything. If Neil is involved, we need to draw him out without putting ourselves in danger. With that, they came together as a team, the spark of determination flickering back to life. Emily could feel it in her bones. They were fighting against something much bigger than they had ever imagined, but they wouldn't back down. As they gathered their nerves and their thoughts, Emily caught a glimpse of a shadowy figure through the window, someone watching them. She couldn't tell if she was imagining it, but it sent chills down her spine. "Guys, we might not be alone," she whispered, dread lacing her words as she motioned toward the window. The oppressive presence of danger loomed around them, and just as they began to strategize their next steps, another chilling message appeared on Emily's screen, a cryptic warning that sent shivers through her even more than the first. "Trust no one," it read. Who would betray them next? And more urgently, with each passing moment, were they losing their chance to put an end to this chaos? The air thickened with tension as Emily's heart raced. She felt the weight of the world pressing down on her. "We have to move, now," she said, her voice a fragile whisper filled with urgency. Jason nodded, eyes glinting with determination. "Let's check out that cafe first. We'll find someone who knows something. We can't afford to waste any time." Derek finally hung up his phone, relief flickering across his face. "Account's frozen," he said. "But we need to get moving before they figure out we're onto them." With a shared glance that spoke volumes, they headed out, their breaths mingling with the crisp evening air outside. The streets felt eerily quiet, shadows stretched longer than they should. Emily felt like a target, every passerby a potential threat. As they reached the cafe, the faint aroma of coffee and baked goods wafted through the air, inviting yet deceptive. The cozy atmosphere contrasted sharply with the knot in Emily's stomach. "This feels surreal," she muttered. Jason pushed the door open, the bell chiming as they stepped inside. The cafe buzzed with chatter, a stark reminder that life unknowingly moved on for everyone else. Jason's eyes scanned the room, hoping to catch sight of someone who might help them. "Over there," Derek pointed discreetly to a table tucked in the corner where a group of friends laughed over steaming mugs. "Look like they just came from a party." Emily made her way over, heart pounding in her ears. "Excuse me," she said, her voice steady despite the anxiety clawing at her. "Did you see a girl named Rebecca here last weekend? With a guy named Neil?" The group paused, exchanging glances. One girl with bright red hair leaned forward. "Oh. Yeah, I remember them. They were here having a great time. But then, things got weird. They left so abruptly." "What do you mean?" Emily pressed, grabbing a seat. The girl hesitated, her eyes darting around. "Well, after they left, I heard Neil shout at her. Looked like a real fight. They were arguing about something serious." Derek leaned in. "Do you remember what it was about? Did you get a vibe that something was off?" The red-haired girl bit her lip, thinking hard. It was strange. Rebecca looked upset, but then, she was smiling again in no time. "I heard the word money. I don't know, maybe she was stressed about finances or something." A chill ran down Emily's spine. So it was already happening then before the charges. "And then," the girl continued, her voice lowering, "they left in a car with someone else. I didn't see who. But they were acting nervous. Like they were being followed." Emily shared a glance with Jason and Derek. The pieces were scattering but not quite fitting. "Do you know anything more?" Jason asked, leaning in. The car was black. That's all I remember. It felt like grasping at smoke." "Thank you," Emily said, though it hardly felt enough. The group resumed their chat, the joy of friendship now a glaring contrast to their grim reality. Suddenly, Emily's phone buzzed in her pocket again, a notification. Her heart plummeted. She pulled it out, her breath hitching at the sight of the sender. A photo of Rebecca, eyes wide with fear, alongside Neil, not at the cafe, but in what looked like an alley. The message followed. "Find her before it's too late." "I just got another message," Emily breathed, the phone trembling in her hands. She turned it towards Jason and Derek, dread pooling in her gut. "What did it say?" Jason demanded, his voice taut. "It's a picture of Rebecca. In an alley, she looks scared. We have to find her. Now. Derek's eyes widened. That alley is just a few blocks away. But we have to be careful, it could be a trap. Time was slipping away, seconds ticking like months. Emily felt an urgency creeping back in, pulling them toward a crucial choice. They could rush out there or take a moment to think. Is it worth the risk? She thought. What if this lurking threat is just a step behind? The three of them stood at the cusp of a decision, adrenaline coursing through their veins like wildfire. Would they be brave enough to push into the unknown? With hands gripping tightly onto each other, they took a deep breath, ready to plunge into the heart of danger. As they stepped outside, a sudden siren wailed in the distance, cold air slicing through the panic. Emily's mind raced. Would they be able to save Rebecca in time, or had they already stepped into a web they couldn't untangle? Where was the lurking danger really coming from? The siren's wail echoed down the street, a haunting reminder of their urgency. Emily sprinted forward, pulling Jason and Derek with her. Fear mingled with determination, propelling them forward as they navigated the dimly lit streets. Every corner held a potential threat, and the shadows seemed to whisper secrets. Stay close, Jason commanded, his eyes scanning the surroundings like a hawk. Emily nodded, feeling the pulse of the city thrumming beneath her feet. Each step was a mix of dread and hope. Would they find Rebecca soon, or was it already too late? As they raced toward the alley, Emily's mind spun with possibilities. What had Rebecca gotten herself into? Was Neil involved beyond just a petty spat? The message haunted her, find her before it's too late. The urgency of it all made her stomach churn. Derek slowed his pace, glancing down at his phone again. We passed the block, he panted, catching his breath. It should be right up ahead. The alley loomed dark and foreboding as they approached. A chill ran down Emily's spine. It felt alive, as if it held its own stories of those who had stepped in and never come out. Hey, we need to stick together, Jason said, his voice low. If something goes wrong, we're stronger as a group. Emily nodded, squeezing Derek's hand. Let us just get in and out. We can't waste any more time. Just then, a crash echoed from the depths of the alleyway, like metal meeting concrete. Emily froze, instincts kicking in. Did you hear that? She asked, her heart racing. Derek's head tilted to the side, listening intently. Yeah, sounds like something or someone might be in trouble. They exchanged hesitant glances, each silently weighing the risk. Every second felt monumental, building the tension between their breaths and pounding hearts. Taking a deep breath, Emily stepped forward. We have to check it out. Rebecca, she wouldn't just disappear. Jason took the lead, edging into the alley with Derek close behind. Emily followed, her heart pounding like a drum in her chest. The walls closed in, the shadows stretching unervingly around them. As they ventured deeper, the scene unfolded. There, huddled against a damp wall, was Rebecca. Her clothes were disheveled, hair wild around her face, but her eyes, everyone gasped at the sight. Those bright eyes shimmered with tears, fierce yet fearful. Rebecca. Emily rushed forward, her voice breaking the suffocating silence. Before she could reach her, a figure emerged from the shadows. Neil stepped out, a storm brewing in his eyes. Get away from her. He shouted, his voice booming with wild energy. Neil. What happened? Derek asked, taking a protective stance in front of Emily. We're not here to fight. But Neil only laughed, a chilling sound. You shouldn't have come. This isn't what you think it is, it's bigger than just us. Emily felt a rush of panic. What had happened to Rebecca? What did Neil mean? Rebecca. Are you okay? She pleaded, stepping past Derek, reaching out to her friend. I don't know, Rebecca stuttered, trembling. Yes, not what you think. I was trying to help. The tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. Emily's heart sank as uncertainty clawed at her mind. What did Rebecca mean? What sort of trouble had she gotten herself into? Help with what? Jason demanded, his voice steady but laced with concern. Before Rebecca could respond, footsteps echoed from the other end of the alley, a team of dark figures emerging, their faces concealed. "You shouldn't have come here," one of them sneered, eyes glinting with malicious intent. Emily's instincts screamed danger, every muscle in her body ready to sprint if she had to. The trap was tightening, the shadows now closing in. "Run!" she shouted, the urgency roaring through her as she turned to grab Rebecca's arm. But as they took a step back, the gang advanced, and Emily realized the danger was greater than they had ever anticipated. Would they make it out alive? Would they find a way to help Rebecca, or had they walked straight into a devastating fate? The looming threats hung heavy in the air. As Emily prepared to fight or flee, one thought ricocheted in her mind: this was just the beginning. Emily barely had time to process her own command when the gang moved in unison, stepping forward like a wall of darkness. Panic flickered in her chest as she pulled Rebecca closer, trying to shield her with her body. The tension was palpable, a tightrope stretched thin. "What do you want?" Jason yelled, placing himself in front of the group, hands clenched into fists. His bravery was commendable, but it did little to quell Emily's racing heart. "Just a chat," one of the figures answered, a mocking grin revealing teeth too white in the gloom. "You're poking your noses where they don't belong. Can't have that." Emily scanned the alley, assessing their escape routes. The walls loomed on either side, the ground slick with rain, and she knew they were trapped unless they acted fast. "We need a distraction," she murmured to Derek, who nodded, fear evident in his eyes. Before they could formulate a plan, Rebecca spoke, her voice quaking yet steady. "No. Wait. You don't understand. I was trying to find proof of what he's planning. You can trust me." Neil's laughter rang out, and he stepped closer, a predatory gleam in his eyes. "Is that what you think? You're all tangled up in something much bigger than you realize, Rebecca." Emily felt sick. What had her friends stumbled into? She squeezed Rebecca's hand tighter, trying to convey reassurance amidst the chaos. "Tell us," Jason demanded. "What plan? What's he involved in?" The gang shifted restlessly, exchanging glances that screamed impatience. One of them, taller than the rest, finally stepped forward. "This is your last chance to walk away. Nobody gets hurt if you do." Emily's eyes darted to Rebecca, the fear in her friend's expression striking her like a thunderbolt. "Rebecca, please just tell us what you were trying to find." Breath hitching, Rebecca glanced at Neil. "I found something big. Neil has connections, dangerous ones. I thought I could help, but I didn't know they were after me too." "What do you mean?" Derek asked, his voice a mix of anger and concern. "Are you saying he's involved in something illegal?" "You shouldn't have gotten involved," Neil interjected, his voice dripping with contempt. "You're all foolish little kids playing hero." Suddenly, a burst of movement caught Emily's eye. A figure shifted behind the gang. Adrenaline surged through her as she recognized the shape. "Sophie!" she yelled, hoping to draw the girl's attention. "Sophie, run!" Jason shouted just as Sophie, brave to a fault, dashed towards them. "What are you doing here?" Derek yelled, confusion and fear spreading across his face as Sophie skidded to a halt beside them. I heard you guys were in trouble. I couldn't just leave you." She stammered, her cheeks flushed. "Great. Just what we needed," Neil snapped, dismissing her presence but clearly agitated. This was a chance. Emily felt the tension shifting. "Derek, Sophie, go. Get Rebecca out of here now." Emily commanded, her voice steady despite the chaos swirling around her. The gang hesitated, caught off guard by the sudden energy shift. "Emily, no!" Derek shouted, looking back at her in disbelief. "Go. Now!" Emily echoed, stepping forward, her heart pounding with equal parts fear and fierce resolve. "We'll buy you time." With hesitation painted on their faces, Derek and Sophie grasped Rebecca's arms, urging her to move. The alley echoed with the sound of hurried footsteps as they sprang into action. Don't let them escape. Neil's voice throbbed like a wound. With quick maneuvering, Emily advanced, positioning herself between the gang and her retreating friends. She felt the weight of the moment, her entire being focused on buying precious seconds. Where would it all end? Would they escape or be consumed by the darkness that threatened to swallow them whole? In that heartbeat of battle, Emily heard Rebecca's pleading voice lift above the screams. It's not just about us. We have to stop him before it gets worse. Emily's heart thundered in her chest. The stakes were impossibly high. This was no longer just about finding Rebecca. This was about unveiling a truth that held the power to destroy lives. As uncertainty raged within her, the alley grew eerily silent, holding its breath. What revelation awaited them in the shadows? The silence was shattered by the crackling breath of tension in the alley. Emily's heart raced as she took a terrified glance at Jason, whose expression shifted from defiance to realization. They were running out of time. Everyone, back off. She shouted, her voice cutting through the darkness with an unexpected edge. The gang members looked at each other, confused by her audacity. Emily took a step forward, her body trembling slightly but her stance firm. You don't want to hurt us. We're just kids. What do you really want? Neil's grin faded as he leaned in closer, his eyes narrowing with a glint of mild interest. Smart girl. But you're out of your league. This isn't just about you. It's about power, and you're in the way. Power? Derek shouted, stepping back from the group, pulling Rebecca out of their reach. What kind of power? Power that can bring everything you know crashing down. Neil licked his lips, theatrical and cold. And you little ones should learn to stay out of it. Rebecca, inflamed with courage, shot a glance at Emily. We can't let him keep going. If there's proof of whatever he's doing, it's bigger than just us. We need to expose him before it's too late. Don't you get it? Neil laughed, bitterness lacing his tone. You have no idea what you're facing. It'll only end in blood. Emily inhaled sharply, determination flooding her senses. Then we'll face it together. Whatever it is, we're not backing down. Sophie moved closer to Emily, a fierce expression claiming her face. We're not afraid of you. You're hiding in the shadows, afraid of the light we're trying to shine. The gang shifted, their confidence faltering for the briefest moment as they exchanged worried looks. Maybe they hadn't expected such resistance. Jason spoke up then, louder than he had before. If you think we're going to stand by while you threaten our lives, you've got another thing coming. We'll take you down. Neil's frustration peaked, and he raised his hand, signaling a few of his gang members to step forward. Enough of this nonsense. Either walk away or watch your precious friends get hurt. In an instant, chaos erupted. Emily felt time stretching and folding as she tackled Neil, a surge of adrenaline propelling her forward. She landed on him, knocking him off balance. Go. Now. Out of the corner of her eye, she saw Derek pulling Rebecca when they stumbled, allowing Jason and Sophie to act instinctively. They darted forward, ready to help and provide cover. Hold on. Derek cried, skidding against the slick ground as he reached for Rebecca, his face a mask of panic. The gang was reeling, lost in unexpected disorder, and Emily seized the moment. Run. Don't stop. As her friends started to flee, Emily's determination ignited a fire in her belly. She would not back down. They couldn't allow Neil to pull them into his abyss. With a final push, Emily managed to place herself between her friends and the gang. Jason shouted, "Emily, come on." But she was already moving. She would fight for them, she would protect them. Every instinct in her screamed to escape, but she wouldn't run, not without one final stand. Then, just as Neil regained his footing, Emily felt a heavy grip around her wrist. The dark figure pulled her back, and she found herself staring into Neil's wild eyes. "You're not leaving," he growled, breath hot against her skin. Emily locked eyes with Rebecca across the alleyway, the desperation in her gaze igniting a fierce determination inside her. "Let her go!" Rebecca screamed, her voice filled with raw emotion. In that moment, Emily realized this wasn't just about uncovering hidden truths. It was about surviving the battle that was unfolding in ways none of them could predict. With a sudden movement, Emily twisted free, the glow of the neon lights flickering in the distance like a promise of hope. But the gang was regrouping, and behind them, a dark figure emerged from the complete shadows, their presence heavy and menacing. What would happen next? Would they really be able to escape, or had they stepped too far into the abyss? With her heart pounding, Emily braced herself for whatever horror lay ahead. Just then, a familiar voice echoed behind her. "Are you all right?" It was a question that held within it all the shadows of uncertainty. Emily spun around, her heart racing as she recognized the voice. It was her older brother, Sam. Relief washed over her like a cool breeze on a sweltering day. But there was no time to wallow in comfort. Her eyes darted back to Neil and his gang, shadows looming, ready to strike. "Get Rebecca and the others out of here," she shouted, urgency ringing in her voice. Sam rushed forward, catching on quickly to the chaos unfolding. "Stand back," he barked at the gang, his presence charging the atmosphere with a mix of authority and protection. The gang hesitated for just a moment, confusion splattered on their faces. In that split second, Emily felt a flicker of hope. "Now's our chance," Jason urged, grabbing Rebecca's hand and pulling her toward the alley's exit. Derek followed closely, his protective instinct ignited once more. "Run!" Emily shouted, but just as they turned, Neil was back on his feet, furious. "You think you can just walk away?" he bellowed, glaring at them, eyes blazing. Sam squared his shoulders, never wavering. "You need to back off now or face the consequences," he warned. But the anger that pulsed from Neil was like a thunderstorm on the verge of breaking. "You think your brother can save you?" He laughed, a dark cloud creeping over his face. As the gang shifted forward, Sam stepped protectively in front of Emily, determination etched into every line of his face. "We'll face this together. You're not alone anymore, Em." In that moment, Emily felt the weight lift. Her heart swelled with strength, visibly intertwining with the frantic energy of the moment. They were a team, unbreakable and united against the storm. "Let us go," Emily urged, her voice echoing with determination. They broke from their hiding spots and bolted into the darkness, Sam backing them all the way out, standing resolute against any threat. "Don't look back," he shouted as they ran, the sound of shouting and chaos fading behind them, swallowed by the city's pulse. Emily held on to Rebecca's hand tightly, fear and relief mixing into a cocktail of adrenaline. Once outside, they sprinted toward the nearest safe space, breathing heavily but driven by a newfound sense of discovery and bravery. The gang's taunts receded, lost among the bright glow of streetlights and the rhythm of cars whooshing by. Finally, they reached Sam's car parked just around the corner. Hopping inside, he quickly started the engine, and Emily felt the familiar warmth of safety wash over her. "Are we okay?" Derek panted, his voice trembling as they drove off. "What did we just walk into?" Rebecca added, voice shaky. Emily turned to her friends, her expression serious but resolute. "We need to gather the evidence Rebecca mentioned. We can't let Neil's plans unfold. We'll expose him for what he truly is. This fight isn't over." Sam glanced at her in the rearview mirror, pride glimmering in his eyes. "You're right, we are stronger together. This is a family matter now. Nobody gets to mess with us or tear us apart." The emotional burden began to lift. Emily breathed again. They would protect one another, stand together no matter what. They could fight through this tangled web of danger, uncover the truth, and reclaim their lives. As they pulled away, Emily glanced back toward the alley, the shadows still hidden but not insurmountable. "We'll find a way to shine a light on this darkness," she declared, determination solidifying in her heart. As they sped away, a powerful understanding settled within her. Love was the fiercest weapon. No matter how deep the shadows, they would weave their stories into the fabric of resilience, holding each other up through every storm that dared to challenge them. This was their truth. This was their fight. Now, let us take a stand together. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss the next thrilling chapter in our journey. Leave a like now to fuel the algorithm and help this story shine bright. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. Let us hear your thoughts. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Your support matters. Together, we will rise.